Hi guys, welcome to your succulent wreath tutorial. So this is one that we just revamped that was overwintered from last year, but yours is going to end up looking very similar to this. So for the wreath that I'm going to build, I'm going to show you different plant options because when you get your wreath kit, you're going to have multiple options. So I'll set that down. So when you get your wreath, it's going to come in a package. And you're going to need to take off the packaging and then soak it in a basin or in the sink for about 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes. Once you have soaked it, you can take it out and then put it on a lined cookie sheet or some sort of tray to let it drain. And you're going to want to let it drain for about 45 minutes to an hour. Once you have done that part, you are ready to plant. So we are going to also do the string of pearls like we did with this one. So 4 string of pearls, plants across the bottom. And then for this version, instead of the purple Ecca Vera, I'm gonna do a deep red Preta. So you're gonna have your choice between either the Pearl von Nürnberg or the Preta. And then instead of this fuzzy guy, I'm gonna put the Purpusorum Ecca Vera in there. And then instead of the Graptovaria Bashful, I'm going to do 3 of these green Ecca Veras. So you get 2 plant choices for every set of plants. So you're going to get to choose actually 3 different plants. So to start this wreath, it's important to make sure that it hangs right. So you're going to refer back to just sort of lifting it up and making sure it's hanging straight so when you put in your plants that they're in the right spot. So the first thing we're going to do is start with the string of pearls and we're going to put them in through the side. So to do that, we're going to measure to the center and then we're just going to go to the side about 1 inch for the first one and then about another inch or 1.5 inches for the second one, and then we're going to go back and do the same thing on the other side. So measure from center and then put 1 in right there and then 1 in about another inch over. You will have a bread knife. Maybe you have one at home that you can sacrifice. Otherwise, we can give you one. So here I am, I'm gonna measure from center. So I know that's center. My wreath is very wet. And then I'm going to start to dig a hole. You're gonna wanna try to navigate around the fish line. You'll probably snap some of it, but ideally as little as possible. And you're going to need to dig a hole that's big enough to get your string of pearls in. So you're going to actually rip out quite a bit of this. So it's a bit of a process. And if you have nice nails, you might not after this, so just bear that in mind. Okay, so now let's go about another inch over to the second one. And this is approximate. It's not gonna matter once it's filled in. You're not gonna notice if it's out a 1/2 inch, but you do want it relatively accurate. Just when it's first done, it's gonna look better if it's lined up asymmetrically, or symmetrically rather. Okay. So I use a mixture of my hands and the butter knife. So you just kind of have to guesstimate if you've dug out enough to fit your plug in, and you can squish it quite a bit, and you probably will have to. So I'm just gonna check in with center again, and then start with my next 2 holes for the string of pearls on the side. Check in, see if I think it's deep enough. I think that is. And then go over a bit more. Oops, I think I snapped a bit of string with that one. The knife's handy, but sometimes you just got to get your hands in there to really get a sense of what is going on. Okay, so now we're going to take our string of pearls, and with the strings facing down, I'm going to put in the first one. So open that up a bit, and then just tuck this guy in, push him in. Oh, fits perfectly. And you just want to press it in so it's pretty much level. You don't want to stick it in too deep. Now for our next one, with the strings facing down. This one's a little tighter. It feels like the wire's kind of not letting me put it exactly where I want it, but that's okay. It will work. And then off to the other side, dig that out a bit more. Oop. Okay, I think I need to dig that about a bit more, and that will probably happen with your wreath as well. You think you have enough, but that's okay. You can just take it out, put it back in. Try to keep the root of the succulent as intact as you can. Okay, and last one. That one I did not seem to dig out very well because it doesn't feel like a very big hole. Okay. There we go. Squeeze it at the base to try to get it in. You might lose some soil. As long as you keep the main root intact, it should be fine. Okay, so string of pearls in. So now we're gonna have to make room for the 3 big succulents at the base. So, and this one, you want the first one going in directly centered down the center. So I'm gonna start by digging now in the front of the wreath, and everything else is gonna be planted right in the front of the wreath rather than the sides. And when you're putting in the ones on top, you may encounter your string of pearls, so just be careful. And I should also mention, if your plants seem dry when you go to plant them, just make sure you give them a dunk as well before you plant them. So this has a bit of damaged leaf, so I'm just going to take that off before I plant it. A few dirty ones. And chances are with these longer succulents, you're going to have to break off some of this soil, which it's much easier to do that than try to cram it in. So succulents actually can live in this moss just fine. They do not need a lot. So that one went in nicely. And then I'm going to put the other 2 a little bit higher, so an inch or so. So we're not at half yet, halfway up. This is still the bottom part, so I'm just gonna stick my finger in here to kind of mark out where I want them to go. That still looks like it's on the center, so I'm on the right path. So chances are this project might make a bit of a mess. So if you have a, if you can do this in the kitchen, or maybe you have a nice bathroom counter where you've got lots of light and lots of room to work, that might be good. And when you're watching this video, remember you can just put it on pause if it takes you longer to do any of this than it's taking me. I've made a few of these, so I'm trying to go a little slower, but also not make the video too long. I think we're deep enough. So again, there's a few leaves that are kind of damaged and yucky, so I'm just going to pull those off. Whoop, that one I didn't mean to, that's okay. Take a few more. Taking off that bottom about an inch of soil. And then there's lots of string here, so I'm gonna have to work around that, kind of push it to the side. And then voila, that's in. Feels pretty solid. And I do recommend leaving your succulent wreath on a table while it roots for a few weeks, rather than hang it up right away, just so that the plants have a chance to at least get a bit of rooting in there before they are hung up. Okay, take that little bit off. Check for depth. Okay, so now we've got the bottom 3 in. So now we're going to move to the middle, and these basically go in the middle of the wreath, halfway down, halfway up. I'm gonna mark that out with my thumbs again. I find that's a helpful visual aid. So if you're craving getting dirty hands, which I know some of you are right now, this is a really good project for you because you will have dirt and moss and all that underneath your fingernails. So if you like that sort of thing, I'm sure you'll enjoy this. There's lots of fishing line in here too. So there is no soil in this at all. It's just pure moss. The only soil that's going in is whatever's attached to the plugs. Okay, so let's move along. So this is our Echevera purpusorum. So it's got this lovely burgundy edging and some speckling in it, and it's a really rich green color. So I thought I'd choose that just to play off the purple of the Preta. You want to just be gentle handling these, firm but gentle. Okay, take off that bottom. Oh, that one. Some of these I've noticed of the purpusorum, if you get that one, the root is quite crumbly. So don't be alarmed by that. You might even need to stick a bit of soil in if you lose too much. Succulents need very little to root, so that's not alarming, but this one I'm sure is going to be a bit wobbly. And we're going to be using some pins later on to pin on the moss too. So you could always kind of pin your succulent on if it's really wobbly, just until it roots. So we're looking pretty good. It's not completely symmetrical, but pretty darn close, and it will fill in. So we've got the last 3 to go. I'm going to mark it out again. And it's hard to get it entirely symmetrical because each plant is unique in shape and size too. So we'll try to give you fairly symmetrical ones, but we're working with nature here. So if you haven't watched our other video, we just did a video showing how to refresh a wreath. This one was done last year. So you can actually store these wreaths indoors if you have a cool place, you know, something like 5 to 10 degrees and somewhere that's still bright. That's how we stored it. And it actually kept pretty well, and we were able to renovate it and still keep at least half the plants and then use the rest of the plants as cuttings for new plants, and it's super easy. So you can become a succulent propagator doing this as well to keep your wreath. Otherwise, you could just let the plants perish, and I'm sure you could completely empty it and redo this once again. The wreaths seem pretty durable. Okay. You may also try to use gloves doing this, but I find I just end up ripping them off usually, but you're welcome to try them and see if that works for you. Okay, I need a little bit more here. Ooh, I'm sweating. It's hot in here. Okay. So now we've got our final Echevera, and this one's got some nice red rims too. So I kind of did all burgundies and reds here. I'm going to take off that bottom inch once more. And when you're putting your wreath or your Echevera into the wreath, you can maybe turn it too. So this one kind of feels to me like it needs to face this way, face down. Kind of looks like it would be kind of backwards if I did it another way. So you can check the angle before you put your Echevera in. And I don't know if I have enough room there. Okay, let's go for it. Tuck that in. On to the next one. check my angle. The last plant going in. Okay. And there we go. There is our wreath without the moss. So once we get to this point, you can take off any moss that's fallen in there. Now what we're going to give you is we're giving you some bright green forest moss to pin around. If you like it that way, you can leave it like that too. There's nothing wrong with it. But we want to add in some bright green moss just to really punch up the colors of these succulents. So I'm just going to move this mess of moss I got here. And grab some fresh green stuff. So I usually start by pinning it in the middle, so I'll take some, lay it out, and kind of try to spread it out here. So spread it out around here, and then you take, where'd my floral pins go? Floral pins, and just kind of, they're like bobby pins, you just kind of put them in at an angle. And actually I've even used bobby pins in a pinch to get the moss to attach. And each kit will come with about 25 pins to pin your moss. So you want to try and get it nice and flat, because it's kind of nice to still see a circle in the middle of the wreath, and if you've got too much moss, it's just going to look like a big, it's going to be all filled in, so you won't see the wreath part of it, or the circle part of it. So already that's looking quite a bit brighter. Okay, so I do the center usually first, and then you can work around the bottom. I just usually do the top half. You don't need to do it all the way to the bottom. Just do the top edge, because that's all you're really going to see anyway. So it's easiest, I find, if you try to keep the pieces as large as possible. You can get it done faster this way. So with this project, we could make you work for it a bit more for the effect. This is definitely more of a labor-intensive workshop, but it's so fun. And it's so pretty, and they're unique. And you'll want to keep this indoors until it's at least, you know, the middle of May. After May long weekend is a pretty good barometer to go by when it's ready to go out. That's usually good timing, because these have been in a greenhouse where they are not used to outside temperatures. But I find you will get the nicest colors if you put it outside during the summer. The succulents are really, the colors intensified by the cooler temperatures and the outside environment. Okay, I've just got kind of one more clump I can put on here and call it quits for the day. And then you can just check and see if you have any spots in between where you might need a bit more moss. Just pin even a little clump in here. Nope, need a bit more there. And another pin here. And voila, you have your succulent wreath. So here, try and grab this, show you both of your options. It's probably easier to sit them down. So there are your plant choices. So I hope you enjoyed tuning into this video. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out and ask us.